And going in here, Math 6, Quarter 1, Week 1 through 9, lesson plans for Grade 6. Let's do that right now. So we start out here, Math 6, Quarter 1, classwork, homework sheets, quizzes, tests, pacing guide, and we have our PowerPoint editions here. And we have video editions here for week 1 through week 9 lesson plans for Math 6 Quarter 1. Let's go right now. Oh, students, name date here. On here, lesson plans. Math 6 Quarter 1 classwork, homework sheets, quizzes, tests, pacing guide for week 1. And we start out here with 1.1, integers, classwork, homework part 1, part 2. 1.2 comparing and ordering integers, classwork part 1, homework part 1. And then our standards we'll get to after you do your pretest, students. You have to do your 1.1 integers pretest before you can enroll in Math 6. And our other quizzes for week 1, we have a 1.1 integers quiz. Then we have 1.2 comparing and ordering integers quiz. And then we are going to do our standard 6.ns.5, 6.ns.6, 6.ns.6a, and then 6.ns.6c. There might be a 6b in here as well. So 6.ns.5, which focuses on understanding positive and negative numbers in real-world context. That's going to be our intro. And then our learning targets are identify and explain positive and negative numbers in real-world scenarios, represent integers on a number line, interpret the meaning of 0 in different contexts, and then comparing and ordering numbers, resources and materials, animated PowerPoints and or video versions of lessons, classwork, homework, quiz, test, worksheets are all done in these formats. And then your activities and tasks, all classwork sheets are closed exercise from PowerPoints or MP4s, homework, quizzes, test assignments available online with corrections provided after submission dates, access for all, available in over 100 languages, available online 24/7, closed caption for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired. Classwork is 57 points. Note taking is 12 points. Homework is 45 points. Quiz is 40 points. We have 34 test points for week 1. The total for week 1 is 188 points for Math 6 Quarter 1 week 1. Hello everybody, getting ready to do week 2 here, classwork for Math 6 Quarter 1, week 2, and the standards here are the number system, 6.ns.7c, understand the absolute value of a rational number as its distance from 0 on the number line, interpret absolute value as magnitude for a positive or negative quantity in a real world situation, and that covers also 6.ns.7 and then 6.ns.7d. And then also we have an ELA, English Language Arts Literacy, RST 0.6 through 8.7 standard here. Integrate quantitative or technical information as it works in a test with a version of that information expressed visually, for example, in a figure, a diagram, a graph, or a table. So you have an English Language Arts standard here as well. And week 2 is 1.3 absolute value classwork homework part 1. And then 1.3 absolute value classwork homework part 2. And then we go into 2.1 GCF greatest common factor classwork homework part 1. And then our quizzes and our tests for this week, week 2 of your Math 6, we have absolute value quiz, 1.3 absolute value quiz, 1.3 module 1 quiz, part 1, and then we go into a module 1 test classwork part 1 as well. So we have 3 assessments here as well as your classwork here and homework. And so our intro to week 2 is the Common Core Standard 6.NS.7c focuses on understanding absolute value as the distance from zero and interpreting it in real-world context. The Common Core Standard 6.NS.6a, which focuses on understanding opposite signs of numbers and their placement on the number line. So that's basically what the standards are that we cover here. And then the learning targets are, in week 2, recognize opposite signs as indicating locations on opposite sides of 0. Understand that the opposite of a number is the number itself. And then finally, identify that 0 is its own opposite. Your resources here for week 2, again, are animated PowerPoints or video versions of lessons, classwork, homework, quiz, test, worksheets, activities, and tasks. All class worksheets are closed exercise from PowerPoints or videos, homework quizzes, and test assignments available online with 24/7 access, which is down here as well. And then your test assignments available online with corrections provided after submission dates, after the student submits their test or quiz. And then access for all, available in over 100 languages, available online 24/7. And they are closed captioned for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired in 100 languages. And then your point totals here for week 2. There's 60 points for your classwork, 26 points in note-taking, 28 points of homework, and then quizzes are 58 points, and then the test points are 25 points. It comes out to 197 points for week 2. And let's go right into week 3 here. We cover greatest common factor, classwork homework part 2, then we go into 2.2 least common multiple part 1 part 2, and see our quizzes and tests are here. Greatest common factor quiz, least common multiple quiz, and then we have a 2.2 mod 2 quiz, which is chapter 2 quiz as well. And then the standards that we cover will be over here, 6.NS.5 through 6.NS.7b, which are understanding positive and negative numbers in real-world context. And our learning targets will be identify and explain positive and negative numbers in real-world scenarios, represent integers on a number line, and interpret the meaning of 0 in different contexts, and comparing and ordering numbers. And then here's our point totals. Classwork 66, note-taking is 12 points, homework is 43 points, quiz is 60 points, test is 10 points, and then this comes out to 191 points for week 3 of Math 6. And here we are here in week 4. Week 4 of Math 6 quarter 1. In week 4 we do 3.1 classifying rational numbers, classwork part classwork homework part 1. And then we do 3.1, classifying rational numbers, classwork homework part 2. And then 3.2, identifying opposites and absolutes, classwork homework part 1. And then our quizzes and our tests for week 4 is we start out here with 2.2 mod 2 quiz part 1, and then we go into 3.1 classifying rational numbers quiz, and then 3.1 classifying rational numbers pretest quiz. So we get into a pretest for a 3.1 quiz as well. So we have 3 assessments here for week 4, and then the standards are classifying rational numbers. 6.NS.6 is the standard there for week 4. So let's go into the intro for week 4. The intro for week 4. Understand a rational number as a point on the number line. Extend number line diagrams and coordinate axes, familiar from previous grades, to represent points on the line and in the plane with negative number coordinates. So we just not positive, we go negative numbers. And then our learning targets here for week 4. Understand rational numbers as points on the number line. Recognize opposite signs and their positions relative to 0. Plot integers and rational numbers on horizontal and vertical number lines, and graph points in all 4 quadrants of the coordinate plane. We'll do all that here. And our resources, materials, our animated PowerPoints and or MP4 versions of the lessons, including classwork, homework, quiz, tests, and worksheets. And in activities and tasks, all class worksheets are closed exercise from PowerPoints or MP4s. Homework, quizzes, test assignments available online with corrections provided after submission dates. And then access to the work is available in over 100 languages, available online 24/7, closed caption for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired. And our points now. Classwork, there's 88 points of classwork, 6 points of note-taking, 57 points of homework, and then we got 34 points of quizzing, and then 18 test points, which comes out to 193 points total for week 4. Let's go right into our page 1 here, week 5, and we start out here. Week 5 is 3.2, identifying opposites and absolute values, classwork homework part 2, and then 3.3, comparing and ordering rational numbers, classwork homework part 1, and then 3.3 part 2 would be comparing and ordering rational numbers part 2. And then we have quizzes and tests here, and we have 3.2 identifying opposites and absolute quiz. 3.2 unit 1 test, so we have a quiz and a test, and then we go into 3.3 quiz, comparing and ordering rational numbers. Our standards for week 5. And we got standards here that are find and position integers and other rational numbers Find and position integers and other rational numbers on horizontal or vertical number line diagrams. Find and position pairs of integers and other rational numbers as on the coordinate plane. Also 6.ns.6, 6.ns.6a, 6.ns.7, and then 6.ns.7c. And then interpret statements of inequality as statements about the relative position of two numbers on a number line diagram. So these standards are 6.ns.7 and then 6.ns.7b. So your intro here to Common Core standard 6.ns.7c focuses on understanding absolute numbers Understand absolute value as the distance from 0 on a number line. Interpret absolute value as magnitude in real-world situations. For example, elevation, temperature, depth. And then our learning targets are compare rational numbers using inequality symbols. Interpret inequalities as positions on a number line. Understand that greater numbers are to the right of lesser numbers. Lesson plan for 6.ns.7a, which focuses on interpreting statements of inequality as statements about the relative position of two numbers on a number line. So those are our learning targets. These are our standards. And again, for resources and materials, animated PowerPoints and/or MP4 versions of lessons, classwork, homework, quiz, test, worksheets. And then activities and tasks, all class worksheets are closed exercised from PowerPoints or MP4s. Homework, quizzes, and test assignments available online with corrections provided after submission dates. And then access for all, available in over 100 languages, available online 24/7, closed caption for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired. And so for points, there's 70 points in classwork, 8 points in note-taking, 67 points of homework, 31 points of quizzes, and 20 points for tests, which adds up to 196 points for Math 6, Week 5. So we start out here, Week 6, and we start out with our standards, which is, what's our standards for Week 6? The number system, 6.ns.4, greatest common factor, and least common multiple. And then the number system, dividing fractions, 6.ns.1. And then our lessons for Week 6 are, we go into 4.1, applying GCF and LCM, greatest common factor, least common multiple, homework, classwork homework, part 1. And then 4.1, applying greatest common factor, least common multiple, classwork homework, part 2. And then we go into 4.2, dividing fractions, classwork homework, part 1. And then 4.2, part 2, classwork homework, part 2, dividing fractions. And then we go into 3.3, part unit 1, mixed review test. So we have a mixed review test here on 3.3. We wait until now to do that. and then 3.3 Mod 3 quiz. So we have a 3.3 test and quiz here in week 6 as well. And then we go into our intro here. Find the greatest common factor of two whole numbers less than or equal to 100, and the least common multiple of two whole numbers less than or equal to 12. Use the distributive property to express a sum of two whole numbers 1 through 100 with a common factor as a multiple of a sum of the two whole numbers with no common factors. So this is the kind of tasks that we're going to be doing. And then our learning targets is interpret and compute quotients of fractions and solve word problems involving division of fractions by fractions. For example, by using visual fraction models and equations to represent the problem. And that's our dividing fractions area of week 6. Again, resources are materials, animated PowerPoints and videos, classwork, homework, quiz, test, worksheets. Activities, tasks are all class worksheets or closed exercise from PowerPoints or MP4s. Homework, quizzes, and tests available online with corrections provided after submission dates, and access available in over 100 languages, available online 24/7. Closed caption for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired. And then classwork, you got 107 points of classwork, 65 points of note taking, 57 points for homework, 6 points of quizzing, and then 20 points for testing. That is a total of 255 points for week 6. 7 of our lesson plans here. Week 7, Math 6, Quarter 1. And our lessons this week is 4.3, dividing mixed numbers, classwork homework part 1. And then 4.3, dividing mixed numbers, classwork homework part 2. 4.4, solving multi-step fractions in mixed numbers, classwork homework part 1. 4.4, solving multi-step fractions in mixed numbers, classwork homework part 2. And then the standards, wait, let's go through our quizzes here. We have 4.1 quiz, applying greatest common factor and least common multiple. 4.2, dividing fractions quiz, 4.2. And then we go 4.3, dividing mixed numbers quiz. And then our standards for this week is the number system, 6.NS.1, dividing fractions. And then our intro to this week is interpret and compute quotients of fractions and solve word problems involving division of fractions by fractions. For example, by using visual fraction models and equations to represent the problem. And then our learning targets, students will understand how to divide fractions using visual models, equations, and contextual word problems. Resources, materials, animated PowerPoints and or MP4 versions of lessons, classwork, homework, quiz, test, worksheets. Activities and tasks, all class worksheets are closed exercise from PowerPoints or video. Homework, quizzes, and test assignments available online with corrections provided after submission dates, and then access for all. Available in over 100 languages, available online 24/7. Closed caption for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired. And then our points, classwork points are 107 this week. 12 points of note taking, 103 points of homework this week. Quizzes, there's 52 points for quizzes. There's no test this week. So your total points for week 7 is 274 points. Let's go into our lesson. Let's go right into page 1 here, week 8 of Math 6, quarter 1. And then we start here with our content. We got 4.5 rules of exponents, classwork homework part 1. And then 4.5 rules of exponents, classwork part 2. And then 4.6 negative and zero exponents, classwork homework part 1. And then 4.6 negative and zero exponents, classwork part 2. Okay, and then our standards. Well, we're going to go through our quizzes here. Quiz 4.4 quiz solving multi-step fractions and mixed numbers. So we got multi-step equations including fractions and mixed numbers. And then 4.5 chapter 4 factors, fractions, and exponents mid-chapter quiz. And then we got a 4.5 mod 4 quiz part 1. Now we get to standards. So we have Common Core 9 through 12, endpoint NRN.1. Explain how the definition of the meaning of rational exponents follows from extending the properties of integer exponents to those values allowing for notation. So, okay, that's your standard here this week. And then the intro to this week is lesson plans. Students will explain how rational exponents relate to radicals and extend exponent properties to rational values. And then learning targets will be to define rational exponents using exponent rules, and then connect rational exponents to radical notation. Resources, animated PowerPoints and/or MP4 versions of lessons, classwork, homework, quiz, tests, worksheets are all either animated PowerPoints or video. And then activities and tasks, all class worksheets are closed exercised from PowerPoints or MP4s. Homework, quizzes, and test assignments available online with corrections provided after submission dates. And then access for all available in over 100 languages, available online 24/7, closed captions for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired. And then our classwork points, we got 160 points for week 8 of classwork, 58 points in note taking, 117 points of homework, 105 points for quizzes, 0 points for test, and then their total for week 8 is 440 points. And then going in here to week 9, Math 6 quarter 1, week 9. This is your lesson plans here for week 9. And we start out here at 4.7 scientific notation, classwork homework part 1, 4.7 scientific notation, classwork homework part 2, and then unit 2 study guide part 1 classwork homework, and then unit 2 study guide part 2 classwork homework. And then our final test here is the unit 2 test part 1. And then the standards for week 9 is, here is a structured and engaging learning plan for 6.EE1, which focuses on writing and evaluating numerical expressions involving whole number exponents. And then we go to 6.NS.2, which is fluently divide multi-digit numbers using the standard algorithm. And then 6.NS.3, fluently add, subtract, and multiply. And then our intro to this, students will understand and apply whole number exponents to write and evaluate numerical expressions. And then our learning targets will be define and identify base and exponent, write expressions using exponential notation, and evaluate expressions with whole number exponents. resources, materials, animated PowerPoints, and MP4 versions of lessons, classwork, homework, quiz, tests, worksheets. Everything is on animated PowerPoints and video. And then activities and tasks. All class worksheets are closed exercise from PowerPoints or MP4s. Homework, quizzes, tests, assignments available online with corrections provided after submission dates, and then access for all, available in over 100 languages, available online 24/7, closed caption for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired, and then your classwork points, 108 classwork points for week 9, 15 points of note-taking, 217 points of homework for week 9, quizzes is 0, and your test is 74 points for your final test here for quarter 1. The total points for quarter 1, week 9 is 414 points. Let's